Chapter 11, Entrance Ceremony. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adam had hoped for some peace and quiet on the train to Hogwarts, but just when he figured out how to use magic to control the fire in his mind, the compartment doors slid open again. Hermione was leaning against the frame, looking at him sheepishly, slightly out of breath. I just realized I never introduced myself. I'm Hermione Granger. Adam Reed, nice to meet you. After the quick introduction, Adam blinked. So, did you find the toad? Oh, not yet. Still looking. Hermione smacked her forehead. She'd been so busy introducing herself to the other two boys that she completely forgot Adam. How rude. I'm gonna go find that toad. You can get back to reading. And with that, Hermione hurried off again. Wasn't that the direction she was just searching? Asked a voice. Adam looked up. Maybe she didn't finish checking. Macaron. Adam pulled their lunch out of his bag. Yes. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the Hogwarts Express finally pulled into the station. Students didn't have to worry about their luggage. House elves would take care of getting everything to their dorms. All they needed to do was change into their school uniforms on the train. First years. All first years, over here. As soon as they stepped off the train, Hagrid's booming voice reached Adam. The half-giant was holding up his lantern to gather the new students around him. After counting heads to make sure everyone was present, Hagrid led the first years on the traditional journey all new Hogwarts students experienced. I heard it's a Hogwarts tradition. We're recreating how the founders first discovered Hogwarts, one of the students whispered to those nearby, eliciting excited gasps. This way to the boats. At the edge of the Black Lake, Hagrid directed the new students to board the boats in groups of 4 to cross the water. 4 to a boat. Hagrid stopped one first year who was about to test the limits with a 5th person. Adam followed the crowd forward, when suddenly a hand reached out and grabbed him. Hey! You're here. Come on, we've got exactly 4. It was Hermione. Before Adam could say anything, he was pulled onto the boat. 2 boys were already there, one with red hair and freckles, the other with round glasses, both smiling at him. Hi. Adam offered a polite but slightly awkward smile. Hello, I'm Ron Weasley, and this is Harry Potter. Adam Reed. Wait, you don't know who Harry Potter is? Ron looked surprised at Adam's calm reaction. Of course I do. I also know he's going to marry your sister one day, Star. Sorry, my parents aren't wizards, so, is he, like, a celebrity in the wizarding world? Adam looked at Harry apologetically, who quickly stopped Ron and Hermione from explaining. Nah, it's nothing. I only found out I was a wizard a little while ago myself. Heads down. At that moment, Hagrid's voice boomed from the distance. Ron, Harry, and Hermione all ducked obediently, but nothing happened. Think he was just talking to himself, Adam said, pointing towards Hagrid. The others looked over and saw Hagrid ducking to avoid some low-hanging vines from the bridge, but only because of his height. The 3 who ducked blushed a little, but thankfully it was too dark to see clearly. Thanks to the moment of embarrassment, none of the 3 spoke again, and Adam turned his head to look at the illuminated castle in the distance. Even though he'd been hesitant to come to Hogwarts, Adam felt a surge of excitement as he finally saw the castle standing tall on the hill. Figures that he hadn't met yet but were already very familiar to him seemed to flicker in his mind. Sorry, Grandma, I guess I also think Hogwarts is the best wizarding school in the world. Star. The boat finally bumped into the dock next to Hogwarts. The first years clambered out and followed Hagrid along the winding path to the castle. The gates of the castle were even bigger than Adam had imagined. Hagrid raised a hand the size of a dinner plate and knocked loudly a few times. The door swung open, revealing a figure in a dark green robe. Professor McGonagall, the one who turns into a cat. Adam, the transmigrator, remained outwardly calm, but he couldn't help but internally squeal with excitement, his fingers twitching under his sleeves. If you remembered correctly, Professor McGonagall's animagus form was a tabby cat with square markings around its eyes. Professor McGonagall, oblivious to the fanboy moment in front of her, quickly counted the first years and nodded to Hagrid. Thank you for your hard work, Hagrid. I'll take it from here. With Hagrid's task completed, Professor McGonagall led the new students down another path to the entrance hall, just outside the Great Hall. Welcome to Hogwarts, children. You will be going through those doors shortly to join your classmates for dinner. But before that, you must go through the sorting ceremony to determine which house you will be in. The students, who were looking forward to dinner, immediately exchanged nervous glances. Are we going to face a dragon/troll/banshee/vampire next? Seeing the apprehension on their faces, Professor McGonagall knew what they were thinking. After all, she'd been through the same thing herself. Clearing her throat loudly, Professor McGonagall got their attention again. Once everyone was quiet, she continued with her instructions. Notably, she didn't tell the new students the specific details of the upcoming sorting ceremony. The sorting ceremony will begin in a few minutes. I suggest you make yourselves presentable while you wait. You will be sorted in front of the entire school. With that, Professor McGonagall turned and left. Oh no, I'm not ready. One first-year groaned, clutching his head. How am I supposed to survive 3 minutes in front of a giant dragon? Wait, isn't it about finding the mermaid's treasure in the Black Lake? Another first-year pulled out a bottle from his pocket, looking bewildered. I even brought some gillyweed. But my mother said. My father. My brother. Ah. What is that? An exclamation that drowned out all the other voices caused everyone to turn their heads. A group of pale ghosts was floating through the air, whispering to each other before disappearing through the wall. Is the sorting ceremony different every year? This year, is it about dealing with ghosts? Adam said, touching his chin. The hallway went silent for a few seconds, then the sound of people swallowing nervously could be heard. The ghosts seemed to have sucked the heat out of the hall. Some of the first years turned pale, others trembled slightly. All right, everything is ready. Line up in a single file and follow me. Professor McGonagall's return brought a new wave of warmth back to the entrance hall. She glanced at the first years with a puzzled expression, eventually deciding that some of the parents must have made too many jokes and scared the others. Passing through the doors of the Great Hall and down the aisle between the 4 long tables, Adam quickly scanned the food: roast beef, grilled sausages, roast pumpkin, roast potatoes, steak, lamb chops, roast chicken, bread, French fries, Cornish pasties, Yorkshire puddings. Adam, whose family owned many restaurants, glanced at them and instantly knew the names and preparation methods of each dish. Well, at least it looks good. There isn't anything like stargazy pie. I hope the house elves' cooking skills don't disappoint. Chapter 12, Hufflepuff, the Hidden Dragon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the sorting hat's announcement echoed, Professor McGonagall grabbed a parchment and stepped up to the stool. When I call your name, come forward, place the hat on your head, sit down, and the sorting hat will assign you to a house. Hannah Abbott, point one by one, the future movers and shakers of the British wizarding world, including the future owner of the Leaky Cauldron, were sorted into their respective houses, setting the gears of destiny in motion. The future Minister of Magic, the future Auror, the future somebody, the future herbology professor. Adam Reed, snapping to attention as his name was called. Adam walked up, took the sorting hat, plopped it on his head, and Saturday. A natural occlumency master. Never seen that before. The sorting hat muttered to itself. Protective magic prevented it from directly communicating with Adam in his mind, forcing it to speak in a low voice. Occlumency? What's that? Adam asked just as quietly. Ah, that's a bit of a story. I don't mind answering questions for first years, but I doubt the professors would appreciate me taking up so much time. Let's just say I might not be the best source of information. Under Professor McGonagall's watchful gaze, the sorting hat cleared its throat. So, which house are you leaning towards? Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, take your pick. Hufflepuff. Adam answered without hesitation. He loved food, plants, magical creatures. He was a Hufflepuff through and through. All right, you've made your choice. Hufflepuff, known for its large student body, always welcomed each new member with the loudest applause. Adam made his way to the Hufflepuff table amidst the cheers and sat next to the previous first year. Welcome to Hufflepuff. His new classmates greeted him warmly, and he returned the greetings. Hufflepuff may lack Slytherin's ambition, Gryffindor's drive, or Ravenclaw's wit, but it was undoubtedly the most welcoming and friendly house. They were hardworking, down-to-earth, honest, and enthusiastic. Making friends with a Hufflepuff meant you wouldn't have to worry about getting stabbed in the back. With the largest student body and the fewest dark wizards, Hufflepuff was a house you could trust. After Dumbledore's speech, dinner was served. Adam took a sip of pumpkin juice and speared a grilled sausage. The casing was nice and crispy, the inside was tender and juicy, and the seasoning was on point. Black pepper, rosemary, and lemon juice perfectly balanced the richness, aside from the slight fishiness, which suggested the meat hadn't been properly cleaned. Adam thought it was restaurant quality. Adam continued to sample the food, listening to the chatter around him. My parents are muggles. They freaked out when they got the letter, thought it was a prank. My parents are both Hufflepuffs. I'm writing to them tonight to tell them the good news. Wow, this Yorkshire pudding is amazing. Catching the key words, Adam eyed the Yorkshire pudding on the table, grabbed one, and took a bite. Gag. Adam put the pudding down with wide eyes and washed it down with pumpkin juice. The Yorkshire pudding, soaked in roast beef drippings, had the aroma of bread and butter mixed with an overwhelming fishiness. He could practically see a dead cow doing a pole dance. Why? The grilled sausage was perfectly fine. Leaving the half-eaten pudding on his plate, Adam gave the classmate who'd praised it a sympathetic look. Poor kid, his taste buds were clearly shot. Ugh. Just then, the student across from Adam covered his mouth and groaned. He quietly set aside the offending item, a half-eaten Yorkshire pudding. Adam and he locked eyes. Excuse me, could you recommend something that tastes normal? The other boy's voice was pleading, his accent unfamiliar. Adam surveyed his plate: Yorkshire pudding, beef stew, roast beef, roast lamb chops. This kid had managed to stumble into every culinary landmine. If you like meat, the grilled sausage is pretty good, and the chicken legs should be decent. Well, they're okay, but a little woody. Adam took a bite of a chicken leg. Basically, avoid anything with uncured meat. Thanks. The other boy devoured the sausage in a few bites, close to tears. He looked both comical and pathetic. The fries are good too. You can try those. And drink pumpkin juice to wash it down. Yeah. After polishing off the sausage, he downed a glass of pumpkin juice and looked up at Adam. Thanks. What's your name? Even though everyone's name was called during the sorting, no one remembered anyone else's in all the excitement. Adam Reed. Just call me Adam. Adam, I'll remember that. He nodded. What about you? What's your name? Uther Ramses. The distinctive last name caught Adam's attention. Wait, like Ramses of Pharaoh Ramses II? A classmate beside him voiced Adam's thoughts. Yeah, that's the one, but that was a long time ago. No pharaohs anymore. Uther shrugged. With dinner winding down, Adam joined the conversation. So, you should be studying at the magic school in Egypt. Why Hogwarts? Well, I only found out I was going to school in the UK when I got the letter from Hogwarts. My mom said it's probably because I was born here. She's a magizoologist and met my dad when she was studying the Sphinx in Egypt. Sphinx? That's so cool. The first year whose parents were Muggles sighed. My parents are more ordinary. They met in court. They were the lawyers for the plaintiff and the defendant. Lawyers. Building a good relationship with them could be useful for running a restaurant. My parents met at the Dragon Farm. They're colleagues. My parents also met at work. My dad transferred from the Department of Magical Accidents and Disasters to become an Auror to be with my mom. My parents met at Hogwarts. They hope I'll find my soulmate here too. Wow. Hufflepuff had connections. Hufflepuff friendships were built on trust, and building these relationships now could pay off later. Keeping that in mind, Adam joined in. My parents are Muggles. They run a restaurant. Oh. Really? I thought my parents were the only muggles. That the first year's eyes lit up, and he held out his hand. My name is Bernard Lancelot. I heard you say your name is Adam. Yep. Welcome you and your family to our restaurant. Dinner's on me. Adam named his parents' place, Reed and Lee's Restaurant and Wine Shop. That's your place? There's one not far from my house. I love your red wine stewed beef, it doesn't have that weird fishy taste. Bernard's eyes widened. He'd thought it was just a little mom-and-pop place, not the two-story French restaurant near his house. Adam, can we come to your restaurant too? The other first years were now hooked. They hadn't given Adam's restaurant a second thought until they heard about the beef without the fishy taste. They were used to the flavor, but they didn't exactly like it. Of course. Everyone's welcome, but if you've always lived in the wizarding world, it's best to eat in the private room. Otherwise, some of our muggle customs and terms might draw attention. No problem. XN, when it came to their passion for food, Hufflepuffs were dead serious. Chapter 13 Hufflepuff Common Room. You are listening at novelfull.audio. By the time dinner wrapped up, Adam had already met all the new Hufflepuff freshmen and even chatted with a few seniors nearby. Maybe it's a Hufflepuff thing, but everyone seemed to really love the food. Seriously, I could probably open a whole chain of French and Chinese restaurants in the wizarding world someday. Once the tables were cleared, Professor Dumbledore stood and addressed the students. Now that the new semester has begun, let me remind everyone of a few things. First-year students, please be aware that the forest on the school grounds is strictly off-limits. And some of our older students might do well to remember that too. Dumbledore glanced pointedly at the Gryffindor table. Mr. Filch, our caretaker, has asked me to remind everyone that spellcasting in the corridors between classes is prohibited. Quidditch tryouts will be held during the second week of the semester. Those interested in joining the team should contact Madam Hooch. He paused, then added with emphasis, finally, I must warn you all to stay away from the corridor on the right-hand side of the fourth floor in the library, unless you want to end up bleeding from every pore and dying a miserable death. A hush fell over the great hall for a few seconds. The freshmen exchanged nervous glances, while the older students frowned, wondering about this more serious warning than they'd heard in previous years. Right, that's all. Now, let's all join together and sing the school song. Feel free to pick your own tune. After a rather chaotic rendition of the school song, Professor Dumbledore dismissed everyone, instructing the prefects to lead the students back to their dorms. The four houses separated at the staircase leading out of the Great Hall, with Ravenclaw and Gryffindor heading upstairs, and Hufflepuff and Slytherin going down. The good thing about our dorm being underground is that the staircases don't move around on us, explained a senior Adam had met at dinner. And even when there's a storm, we can sleep soundly. Plus, even though both our dorm and Slytherin's are underground, ours is way warmer. Oh, here we are. The Hufflepuff group stopped in front of a large oil painting of a fruit bowl. Bruce, the prefect, turned to face everyone. This is the entrance to the Hufflepuff common room and dorms, but before we go in, let me point something out. Right behind this painting is the Hogwarts kitchen. Yes, it's practically next door to our common room. Bruce grinned as the freshmen started whispering excitedly. He walked up to the painting. See this pear? Just give it a tickle. The pear seemed to react, shaking for a moment before transforming into a shiny, green doorknob. It turns into a door handle, and you can pull it open to enter the kitchen. I know some of us get midnight munchies, myself included. Bruce patted his stomach and sighed. When it gets cold at night, who can resist a hot pumpkin juice with a plate of grilled sausages? Oh, come on, you're gonna be all about the ice-cold butterbeer and chips in the summer. A senior, who seemed to know Bruce pretty well, chimed in, causing laughter from the group of badgers. Vivian, don't call me out like that, but you gotta admit, it hits the spot on a hot day, right? Bruce shrugged, unfazed by her teasing. Wait, they have butterbeer at school? Adam asked the senior who had introduced him earlier. Not exactly at school, but they sell it in Hogsmeade. You can go to Hogsmeade in your third year. Then you can buy butterbeer and ask the house elves in the kitchen to keep it cold for you. The senior explained, they're always happy to hold on to the empty keg for you when you're done. After the kitchen introduction, the group moved on. Just to the right of the kitchen entrance was a stack of huge oak barrels, which housed the entrance to the Hufflepuff common room. To get in, tap the bottom of the two large barrels in the middle of the second row in the rhythm of Helga Hufflepuff, Bruce said, demonstrating for the new students. The lids will automatically swing open. Don't get it wrong, or you'll get doused with vinegar. And while we welcome students from other houses, please keep the entrance a secret. Everyone needs a little privacy, right? As he spoke, the barrel lid swung open. Adam and the others followed the passage and entered the Hufflepuff common room, a round, low-ceilinged room filled with a subtle, earthy scent. The Hufflepuff common room was decorated in earth tones, yellows, copper, and leafy greens. Round windows lined the ceiling and a warm fire crackled in the fireplace. Above the fireplace hung a large picture frame adorned with dancing badgers. Inside the frame, Helga Hufflepuff saw the students entering, smiled, and raised her golden cup in greeting. The hallway on this side leads to the boys' dorms, and the one on that side leads to the girls' dorms. Now, I trust you all, but to avoid any unnecessary drama, boys aren't allowed in the girls' dormitory area. Bruce clapped his hands. All right, let's split up here. Older students, head back to your dorms. Male freshmen, come with me. Female freshmen, follow Vivian. She's your female prefect. Bruce led Adam to the dormitory door, which resembled an oak barrel lid. Adam bid farewell to the enthusiastic prefect and stepped inside with his new roommates. His roommates included Uther Ramesses and Bernard Lancelot, who had sat near Adam at dinner. There were also two other classmates, Eugene Kroll, an older guy who was taller than most of them, hadn't said much at dinner and mostly listened. All Adam knew about him was that he loved fish. Okay, that was because the few times he did speak up, he was asking Adam if the restaurant served fish and what kind. Cologne Pamir, a very energetic young man, had introduced himself thoroughly and enthusiastically. He loved Quidditch, wizard's chess, gobstones, and any other kind of game. Adam also learned that his family bred magical creatures and ran a store called Rare Birds and Beasts in Hogsmeade. Under the warm glow of a copper lamp, 5 black and yellow 4-poster beds stood ready. Each bedpost was labeled with a name. Bernard, confident he wouldn't mess it up, strode to his 4-poster bed and plopped down. Wow, this dorm is bigger than I thought. Looking around, Bernard was startled by the massive stack of packages next to Adam's bed, which almost touched the ceiling. Whoa! What is all that? Adam, who had been sitting on his bed checking his luggage, stood up to take a look. Oh, those are the books I ordered from Flourish and Blots. Looks like they just arrived. Books? Cologne, who had turned to look, stared with his mouth agape. That's a lot of books. Did you buy out the whole Flourish and Blots bookstore? Pretty much, actually. I picked up a copy of most of the books they had. Adam scratched his chin for a moment, then nodded. I just really like reading, I can see that. That mountain of books was a horror story for Cologne, who preferred games to studying. He shuddered and looked away, then asked, anyone want to take a shower? We should go together. I think I saw a map in the common room. Chapter 14 Dormitory Renovation Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Faced with Cologne's invitation to take a bath, the other roommates responded. Nah, I'm good. I got too much to unpack. Adam had a mountain of books and that huge suitcase. He'd even sent 6 trunks ahead to Hogwarts by owl post. Even basic organization was gonna be a hassle. No need to rush, right? Just grab the stuff you need for class first. We can help you sort the rest out on the weekend when you're free. Yeah, man, if you don't shower, even the bed's gonna get nasty. Then you gotta wash all the sheets. Don't sweat it. Adam grinned and reached inside his cloak. He just summoned his wand from his palm and pointed it at himself. Clean up. The roommates watched as Adam got instantly clean in a gust of wind. They couldn't help but glance at the mountain of books. Well, one thought, guess those books weren't a waste of money after all. It's not as relaxing as a hot shower, but it saves time. Anyone else want to try it? Adam looked at the four of them eagerly. Nope, nope, nope. I'm sticking with the hot shower. Cologne spoke, and Bernard and Eugene nodded in agreement. Uther rubbed his chin, thought for a beat, and decided he wanted a hot shower too. Alright, let's go test out the water temperature for you. The roommates filed out the door, leaving Adam alone. He spotted a letter tied with a bow sitting on top of his luggage. He opened the envelope. Cutting through Dumbledore's flowery language, he saw the invitation to the headmaster's office on the 8th floor for afternoon tea tomorrow, along with the password, coconut ice cream. The thought of it made Adam lick his lips. Gotta say, the desserts in the magic world are pretty good. Putting the letter aside, Adam didn't immediately start unpacking. Instead, he pulled SPI and Xiao Ku from his pocket. They'd grabbed a bite during dinner, too. Time for a bath. You guys want to clean up, or should we use the bubble card? The bubble card made pink, cleansing bubbles to clean people or things. Sibby told him not to limit his imagination, and Adam figured the card could develop a certain Navy Chief of Staff's fruit ability. But Adam wasn't advanced enough to transform the magic of the Clow cards yet, so the bubble card wasn't that different from the cleanup spell, and for something a cleanup could handle, it was a waste of a bubble card. Adam could only use one Clow card a day, but it was evening, so he could use today's charge here. Let's just do the cleanup, said Xiao Ku, raising his hand. Save today's use for the sweet card. Sibby nodded. You never forget that sweet card. Adam sighed. Clearly, this wasn't the first time. He reached out and rubbed Xiao Ku's head. You can shower after you eat. Grabbing a bag of compressed cotton from his suitcase, Adam pulled out a small piece and fluffed it. He turned it from a thumb-sized nugget into a pillow-sized puff, then summoned his seal wand and the sweet card. Release. The sweet card elf, tiny and fairy-like, fluttered from the card and buzzed around Adam. Turn this ball of cotton. The sweet card elf flew over the cotton and sprinkled sparkling powder with her tiny wand. Instantly, the cotton smelled like sugar. That was the sweet card's power. It could make anything taste sweet and turn any object into food without changing its shape. It seemed to break the rule that the transfiguration spell couldn't produce food. But this was alchemy, not transfiguration. A similar spell in the wizarding world was the fountain of clear water. The water from that spell was drinkable and quenched thirst. Also, the cotton the sweet card transformed wasn't a magic item, strictly speaking, but a magical item. It looked, smelled, felt, and tasted like the real thing, but those were just the magical effects. So it wouldn't give you cavities. More importantly, the sweet card didn't transfigure anything, but made a magical item with all the characteristics of something Adam knew the taste of. It wasn't limited to whether Adam knew how it was made, just whether he knew what it tasted like. Adam could keep drinking his favorite soda, the one he hadn't had in years, except it was a healthy version that wouldn't get flat. Using the fountain of clear water to make a cup of water, Adam turned the ball of cotton into a cola. After taking a sip, he looked at Xiao Ku and Sibby, who were ready to jump in the water. Take your time eating. I'm gonna unpack. Okay. Xiao Ku waved to show he understood. Sibby. Sibby was already lost in the sweetness. Grow bigger. Shrink faster. Wingardium Leviosa. After their showers, Adam's roommates were floored by the changes in the dorm. Eugene opened the door and stood there, dumbstruck. Uther shoved him a few times before squeezing past him. He made the same expression as Eugene. Oh. What are you guys doing? I'm still wet. It's freezing out here. Cologne, who was shorter, couldn't squeeze in and had to jump outside the door. What's going on? Whoa. Bernard looked around in shock. It was the same dorm, but opposite the original 4-poster beds were now 3 rows of floor-to-ceiling log cabinets, 5 small sofas, a brass stove, and a full-length mirror. Adam's area around the 4-poster bed had been completely transformed. Adam was sitting on a sofa, with 2 playing kittens on his lap. Seeing them, he looked a little uneasy. Sorry, I went a little overboard. I'm just kinda tired tonight, so this is a temporary setup. If you don't like it, I'll put away the stuff that's taking up common space on the weekend. Dislike it? I love it. Cologne finally got inside and let out an exclamation. He walked to a sofa and touched it. The soft, comfortable feel made him grin. Can I sit down? Of course. I made 5 of M, that with the double card, Adam could duplicate anything into a whole set. Cologne sat down, sinking into the cushions. He couldn't help but sigh. I love this thing. It's softer than a velvet pillow. Can I play wizard chess here? Sure. Adam gestured to the round table that used to be in the dorm, but was now between the sofas. Just so you know, I have no idea how to play wizard chess. You'll have to find someone else to play with. I can teach you. Chapter 15 A Little Shocking Chinese Breakfast. You are listening at novelfull.audio. These cabinets really maximize the use of space. Bernard walked over to a row of tall cabinets and checked them out. Adam's books had been condensed down, packed tightly on just one shelf. The cabinets in front of him each had 2 columns and 6 shelves of space. Bernard turned to Adam. Think I could snag some of that space? Each of us gets a column, and there's one for shared stuff. I can't think of anything specific right now, but it's good to have some extra. When I saw the mirror, I remembered I needed it. It's hard to put on makeup without one, you know. That was Uther. Adam realized Uther had been wearing makeup. Those weren't dark circles around his eyes, it was smoky eyeshadow. This place is so cozy. Eugene plopped down on the sofa, looked at the plush cushions, and blinked. It feels like someone's lived here for ages, like home. So, after a quick vote, the 5 of them crammed onto the small sofa unanimously decided to keep Adam's dorm changes. Compared to the common area, Adam's 4-poster bed and the space around it had been the most dramatically changed, but that was his private space. The others were curious but didn't pry. Everyone was tired after the day's events. They sat on the sofa for a while, got sleepy, and headed to bed. That was the end of their first night at Hogwarts. After a long stretch, Cologne chirped a few times, sat up, and sniffed the air. Something smelled amazing. You're awake. Cologne rubbed his eyes and turned to see Adam and Eugene sitting on the small sofa. On the round table in front of them was a hot plate and a cauldron. Breakfast at Hogwarts is in the Great Hall. Uther and the others are already there. Or do you want to try the congee and tea eggs I made, like Eugene? As Adam spoke, he rolled a tea egg on the table, neatly peeled it, and popped it into his mouth. What is that? Cologne, with his hair sticking up like a bird's nest, climbed out of bed and walked over to the cauldron. He saw a bubbling pot of soup with rice, shredded pork, and some dark things. It's Chinese breakfast. The Hogwarts breakfast has jam and bread, kippers, eggs, bacon, corn flakes. It's a little too heavy for me. Bacon and eggs are fine once in a while, but Adam couldn't do it all the time. Just before, his grandparents had visited and made breakfast for days. The old folks were really into it, and it was hard to refuse. Adam swallowed half his tea egg. So, I asked the house elves for some ingredients, and I brought some stuff myself. But this is my first time using a cauldron to make congee and tea eggs. And the tea at Hogwarts isn't great. I'll bring my own next time. Seeing that the heat was just right, Adam extinguished the flame with a wave of his wand, filled a small bowl, and handed it to Eugene. Careful, it's hot. Try it and see if you like it. Thanks. Eugene took the bowl and nodded to Adam. And soup? Cologne rubbed his face. At home, he usually had bacon, toast, and potatoes. Nothing this fancy, but Adam hadn't even gotten to the really fancy stuff yet. Yeah, you can probably have some soup this afternoon. We don't have classes this afternoon, and I want you to try the yam and pigeon soup my mom taught me to make. Cologne. He didn't know what that was, but it sounded pretty intense. Intrigued by the exotic breakfast, Cologne washed up, sat down, and tried a bowl of the porridge. It was delicious, unlike anything he usually ate. A bowl of hot porridge in the morning warms you right up. Adam had 2 bowls, but there wasn't enough left for both Eugene and Cologne. Luckily, there were still plenty of tea eggs, and Cologne scarfed down 3 in a row. If Adam hadn't stopped him, he probably would have eaten the last 2 for the heck of it. Adam's definitely got the restaurant gene. On the way to class, Cologne realized he was actually kind of stuffed. As long as you like it, I can probably cook often, especially breakfast. As a chef, getting compliments on your food is a great feeling. Could you make fish? Eugene turned around, his eyes shining with anticipation. Fish is a little tricky, but I'll think about it. If Hogwarts even has fresh fish. The British aren't exactly known for their fish skills, like stargazy pie or boiled fish and eggs. The authentic way is just stuffing the fish with its guts. Imagine the taste. Adam wondered if Hogwarts even kept fresh fish on hand. He'd have to ask the house elves. He'd brought all the spices to get rid of the fishy smell. If they had some, he could try to get a few. Oh, right. Just so you know, the fish I make might be different from what you're used to. It'll have a lot of little bones. He hoped Eugene knew how to pick out fish bones, otherwise, he'd be in for a surprise. The first class for Hufflepuff was Professor Sprout's herbology class. She was a gray-haired witch who always looked at the students with kind eyes. Professor Sprout was also the head of Hufflepuff House. After a brief greeting and welcoming everyone to the herbology class, Professor Sprout began her lesson. As an introduction to herbology, she described a harmless but powerful herb, Didney. This was a very useful herb that could help wounds heal quickly, even without turning it into a potion. Didney essence was the most common trauma medicine for wizards. After a lecture of theoretical knowledge, Professor Sprout asked everyone to harvest the Didney that had matured during the past break in the second class. Adam put on gardening gloves and quickly handled the Didney he was responsible for. He stopped and stared at Eugene beside him. "What are you doing?" Eugene didn't answer right away. He carefully reached out and cradled a Didney leaf. Picking Didney. Adam tried to recall the class he'd just attended. He didn't remember Professor Sprout saying the picking process should be so delicate. You'd think Eugene was handling something incredibly rare. Why do you have to be so elaborate? Just picking it should be faster. Eugene lowered his head and showed Adam a few fresh, white leaves from his harvest. Adam took a closer look and saw that the leaves were torn and shredded. The point where the leaves met the stem was connected to a piece of the main branch's skin, as if it had been subjected to some kind of terrible damage. My grip is kind of strong. I can't really control it. Eugene reached out and picked up a fresh, white leaf, then let go. Adam clearly saw a distinct fingerprint on the leaf, with even the white sap squeezed out. And he was sure Eugene hadn't been using any force. "Oh man, buddy, are you a troll cub?" Seeing Eugene's slightly dejected expression, Adam swallowed hard and patted his shoulder comfortingly. "It's okay. I'm sure there are magical plants out there that are perfect for you. Like Devil's Snare, the Whomping Willow, or squeezing the juice out of bubotubers. That kind of work would be right up his alley." Chapter 16 Mission Delivery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey guys, I'm back. Adam slapped Cologne on the shoulder, tossed his bag on the long table, and plopped down. "Where'd you disappear to?" "Haven't seen you in ages," Cologne said, sliding the leftover grilled sausage towards Adam. "Went to chat with Professor Sprout about growing plants in the dorm." "Growing plants? Thought you could just do that if you felt like it." Their Hufflepuff common room was practically a jungle, with potholes dangling from the ceiling and cacti all over the tables. "Maybe it's a magical plant?" Eugene guessed. Adam nodded. "Exactly. That's why I needed to ask Professor Sprout. But don't worry, it's just one little white plant. She gave me a seedling. Planted it right by my bed, so it won't bother anyone." He planted the snowdrop mainly to practice magic and to prep for asking Professor Sprout about planting other magical plants later. He can't practice the magic of flower cards and tree cards in a vacuum. He's working hard to master the Gone cards. If all goes well, he can finish just as the snowdrop blooms, then use the flowers to learn the flower card magic. After lunch, Adam grabbed his backpack and took off again. "Where you headed now?" "Professor Sprout asked me to take something to Dumbledore." Adam wasn't lying. Professor Sprout did ask him to deliver a bottle of honey orchid nectar to Professor Dumbledore. "What about your pot of soup?" Cologne asked, practically drooling. "Relax, it's just a quick errand. Besides, we just ate." Adam waved over his shoulder as he ran off. "See ya." Back in the dorm, Bernard stared at Adam's four-poster bed, scratching his head. "I thought Adam said his parents were muggles. How'd he adapt so well to the wizarding world?" Scratch that, he didn't just adapt well. He was like a fish in water, even more comfortable than the purebloods. Eugene and Uther exchanged glances, each seeing the same thoughts in the other's eyes. Cologne wasn't thinking that hard. He just wanted to know when Adam would be back. He hadn't even eaten that much at lunch, anticipating that pot of soup. Wait a sec, weren't there 2 tea eggs left over from breakfast? Coconut sorbet. After giving the password, Adam entered the headmaster's office to find Professor Dumbledore napping behind his desk. Looking around, he noticed most of the portraits of past headmasters were also snoozing. A few frames were empty, probably out for a stroll. Adam hesitated, then decided not to wake Dumbledore. Spotting a chair across from the desk, he pulled out a book and started reading, waiting patiently. The refilling charm, a spell to summon liquid from a pre-filled container. Learn this, and I can use the Gone card to conjure a bucket of Coke and have it on tap. Magically perfect steak Wellington. Maybe Dad could send some prime beef. Oh. My apologies. Did I keep you waiting long? Dumbledore blinked awake, took off his half-moon glasses, rubbed his eyes, and then put them back on, focusing on the student before him. He actually waited for me to wake up. Such a gentle, patient child, reading and learning. Huh. Advanced household magic, a more exquisite life. Dumbledore's eyes froze on the cover, blinking in surprise. Professor Dumbledore, you're awake. Adam casually closed the book and stashed it back in his satchel. He then pulled out an envelope, a small bag, and Professor Sprout's nectar. "These are the gifts for you and Nicholas Flamel, and the nectar Professor Sprout asked me to deliver." "Thank you kindly, Adam. You've been a tremendous help." Professor Dumbledore sighed, taking the items and setting them aside. He then pulled out his wand. "What's your pleasure? Coconut sorbet? Lemon olaf? I actually recommend the cockroach cluster, but the looks turn many away from it." As he spoke, he conjured up elegant plates filled with the snacks he'd mentioned. "Professor Dumbledore, shouldn't you check those first?" Adam was a little surprised, given it was the Philosopher's Stone. He'd already had a sneak peek, and it was definitely the real deal. "No need to trouble yourself, afternoon tea is more important." Professor Dumbledore popped a lemon sorbet into his mouth. The sharp, sour flavor made his face scrunch up. "Oh, seems I confused the lemon sour with the lemon olaf." He quickly followed it with a cockroach cluster. Adam took a breath. "1 coconut sorbet, please." The pink coconut sorbet wasn't too sweet, just a light, cool sweetness that made him feel happy. "Professor Dumbledore," Adam said after a few bites, "why would Nicholas Flamel ask me to handle something so important?" "Oh. What might that be?" Professor Dumbledore asked innocently. "The Philosopher's Stone, of course." Adam put down his sorbet, looking stressed. "I saw Nicholas Flamel's name in a book. That's when I figured out what the red stone was. What if I'd lost it?" "Easy now, calm down. You delivered it safe and sound, yes. Nothing happened along the way." Professor Dumbledore smiled, conjuring a glass of pumpkin juice and handing it to Adam, who took a sip. "But I'm just a little wizard. Last month, I didn't even know magic existed. What if someone found out? Nonsense, Adam. Nicholas Flamel's protections are much stronger than you think. Professor Dumbledore picked up the bag containing the Philosopher's Stone and said mysteriously, "In fact, this bag is under the Fidelius charm." The Fidelius charm? Adam asked, feigning confusion. A kind of protective magic. You must have seen it in Nicholas Flamel's house. Unless you actively tell someone, even if they hold this bag and search every inch of the table, they won't be able to find it. Adam's eyes widened in surprise. That's incredible. Can I learn that spell? If you study hard, maybe someday. But it's a bit beyond your current level. Professor Dumbledore shook his head. But I will keep my promise and teach you the Portkey charm. Professor Dumbledore grabbed a piece of parchment, the first-year Hufflepuff schedule, it seemed, and studied it. I don't think it's very appealing to take up the weekend to attend classes. How about Wednesday afternoon? You can stop by after the spell class. The principal's office was on the 8th floor. The spell class on the 4th floor was the most convenient. Sounds good, Professor. Excellent. It's settled then. I have other matters to deal with. Feel free to enjoy the snacks, and remember to close the door on your way out. Professor Dumbledore picked up the bag with the Philosopher's Stone and stood. As he reached the door, he turned back. Oh, one more thing I almost forgot, keep the Philosopher's Stone under your hat, okay? Of course, Professor, no problem at all. Adam smiled sweetly, his spoon in his mouth. Chapter 17 Potions Class. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Adam rubbed his hands together, a satisfied grin on his face as he left the principal's office. He was still buzzing from touching Fox. After finishing his coconut sorbet, he just had to go ask, figuring it couldn't hurt. To his surprise, Fox just stared at him for a moment, then nodded. Phoenix, or rather, a phoenix, its wing and tail feathers felt like pure silk, and the down on its belly was incredibly soft. Running his fingers over it was simply heavenly. Adam regretted not pushing his luck a bit further. He really wanted to scoop Fox up and bury his face in its feathers. As the afterglow of that experience faded, a thought nagged at Adam. He'd forgotten to ask Professor Dumbledore why Nico Flamel trusted him so easily, and trusting him with something so important, just because he was the descendant of a friend he'd never met. Would he really trust a young kid with the Sorcerer's Stone? But whenever he tried to steer the conversation that way, Professor Dumbledore would distract him with the Fidelius charm and then bail before he could get an answer. Could it be that he and Nico Flamel had some kind of secret connection? Unable to solve the puzzle for now, Adam pushed it to the back of his mind and forgot about it as soon as he got back to the dorm. The next morning was potions. When Adam pulled out his crucible, Eugene didn't say anything. But Cologne, sitting next to him, couldn't help himself. Wait a minute, you're using that crucible for our potion. You're not planning on cooking food in it later, are you? Looking disgusted, Cologne elaborated. I don't want to eat anything cooked in the same pot that had flobberworm guts in it. Relax, you don't just dump the whole flobberworm in the crucible. We usually just use the juice. That's supposed to make it better. Adam shrugged. What's the big deal? Cleaning it gets it perfectly clean, and, let's be honest, flobberworm juice is a common thickening agent in potions. You drink that stuff anyway. That's different. Cologne shook his head vehemently. He only drank potions when he was sick, but Adam's food was something he actually enjoyed. The thought of eating something that might have once contained flobberworm juice was just too much. That's not the same crucible, Eugene interjected. Adam looked at him, surprised. How can you tell? Sure, the crucibles had markings on the bottom for identification, but otherwise, they were identical. Eugene paused, thinking. Just a guess. But you have pretty high standards when it comes to food. You wouldn't cut corners on something like this. Even if he cleaned it well, the psychological impact would ruin the experience. Unless he had a weird kink for this, a guy like Adam, who hated the school food and cooked for himself, wouldn't skimp on a new crucible. Wow, Eugene, you're a genius. Adam applauded Eugene's intuition, while Cologne stared at Adam, aghast. Then what were you just doing? He was just messing with you, Bernard sighed, ruffling his partner's hair. Potions class required partners. Since there were 5 guys in their dorm, Uther had teamed up with someone from one of the girls' dorms, which conveniently evened things out. Bang, star, the sudden sound of the door being thrown open silenced the already noisy classroom. Professor Snape strode to the edge of the podium, the corners of his black robes billowing behind him like a flock of bats following the devil. He whirled around, gathered his cloak, and scanned every student with his dark, penetrating gaze. Each student cowered, acting as docile as possible, except for one. Among the fearful eyes, one set of excited eyes, filled with a mix of admiration, excitement, and other complex emotions, stood out like a sore thumb. Snape, with his legilimency skills, squinted as if he had suddenly spotted something glaring. Frowning slightly, Professor Snape began to call names. Adam Reed. Yes, he remembered that name. You are here to learn the subtle science and exact art of potion making. As there is little foolish wand waving here, many of you will hardly believe this is magic. Professor Snape's deliberately lowered voice echoed in the silent classroom. He stepped down from the podium and slowly walked among the students. I don't expect you will really understand the beauty of the softly simmering cauldron with its shimmering fumes, the delicate power of liquids that creep through human veins, bewitching the mind, and snaring the senses. I can teach you how to bottle fame, brew glory, even stopper death, if you aren't, as I very much expect, a bigger bunch of dunderheads than I usually have to teach. Mr. Reed. Professor Snape had stopped right behind Adam. Usually, his sudden pronouncement startled the students, but to his surprise, Adam looked positively ecstatic. Yes, Professor. Uncomfortable with the excitement in his eyes, Snape averted his gaze, turned toward the podium, and fired off his question. What do I do with a fresh horned slug? Remove the guts and steam it. Tell me about the precautions when using powdered lionfish spine. The lionfish spine needs to be ground into a powder before use, but its potency fades quickly after grinding, so it should be processed just before brewing the potion. It should be stored whole and away from direct sunlight. Because Professor Snape was asking about broad guidelines, Adam carefully laid out everything one should know about the ingredient. Enough. Snape cut Adam off after hearing enough information to rival third-year students. Mr. Reed, do you believe that you can learn everything well enough without attending class? Do you believe that the first-year coursework is beneath you? I know that potions is a subject that demands precision, Professor, and I am keenly interested in it, but I also recognize the folly and danger of solely relying on self-study. Adam thought he detected a subtle hint of you are self-aware in Professor Snape's eyes. Or maybe he was mistaken. So what I can do is memorize the theoretical material before formally studying this subject at school, with the intention to better focus on your teaching during class. Professor Snape stared at Adam with narrowed eyes for a moment, then said. If I desired to brew a potent intelligence enhancer, how many slices of armadillo liver would I require? I think the brain enhancer uses armadillo bile, Professor. 2 pints, if I'm not mistaken. Professor Snape made no comment but sighed. Then he spun around, grabbed a piece of chalk, waved his wand at the blackboard, and said without looking back. In reality, adding 2 1/16 of a pint will make the enhancer more effective, but 2 1/8 pints of armadillo bile will turn the enhancer into a bottle of poison. Adam's eyes lit up, and he furiously scribbled this down in his notes. Whether it's a more effective intelligence-enhancing agent or a poison, it's all very useful. Chapter 18 The Hand of Evil is ready to move. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Merlin, Adam, you're incredible, Cologne blurted out as they left potions class. Not only are you a good student, but you actually answered Snape's questions. I was frozen stiff just by him looking at me. It's nothing. I'm just really into potions. After all, you can't just eat the philosopher's stone. You have to brew the elixir of life to extend your lifespan, and some potions are genuinely useful. Professor Snape seems intimidating, but he's probably a decent guy. As he said that, Professor Snape walked past them carrying a book. It was like the entire hallway hit the mute button for a few seconds. That intimidating vibe is more than a little strong. Cologne sighed in relief, nearly choking on his words. He then blurted out what was on his mind. How do you figure Snape's a good guy? When I turned in my boil cure potion, he practically tried to shove the bottle into my eye socket, mostly because your boil cure potion was green, and everyone else's and the books were blue. Adam swallowed that thought, rephrasing it more gently. It's potions, after all. People are going to drink those things, so they have to be strict. Imagine if the professor just smiled and gave everyone good grades, regardless of whether their potions were any good. Would you want to drink something brewed by a student like that? He compared it to medical school exams, known for having some of the strictest requirements of any major. Cologne shuddered at the thought and shook his head. He wouldn't even drink his own boil cure potion. But couldn't he be stricter in the assessments and easier on us during class? Bernard asked, equally dejected. He'd been scolded by Snape, too. There are tons of students. This way might be more efficient. As the youngest potions master, Snape's probably swamped, making a fortune every minute. Brewing potions is that profitable? Uther's eyes widened. Even their family would be envious of that kind of money. Bernard, a Muggle-born, was also stunned. He knew how much a galleon was worth when exchanged at Gringotts. Lawyers are high income, but potion brewers are, it hit him. Was a potions master the Wizarding World's dentist? No, wait. According to Snape's opening remarks, potions masters were the general practitioners of the Wizarding World. But even that income seemed crazy. Okay, Adam's exaggerating about hundreds of galleons a minute, but think about potion prices. If Snape's a really good potions master, he should be making a lot. Cologne recalled, I heard customers at my store talking about a potion called Felix Felicis that's hard to get, even for thousands of galleons. Whoa. Uther and Bernard sucked in a breath. They realized that Snape was using his valuable time to teach them, and they shouldn't expect him to have a great attitude. Adam didn't mention that Felix Felicis took 6 months to brew with a very high failure rate. Snape's attitude was admittedly a bit of a problem, but so what? Snape was the best potions professor in the entire British Wizarding world. No question. What book has that intelligence enhancer? Eugene asked Adam abruptly. Advanced Potion Making. Adam looked at him in surprise. Eugene was interested in potions, too. Come to think of it, Eugene was skilled at handling the ingredients and worked perfectly with him during the brewing process. He seemed to enjoy it. Eugene nodded, retreating to his place at the back of the group. Tired of grilled sausages, Adam chose some Provençal stew, a grilled chicken leg, and some corn chips for snacks. The cheese-covered corn chips were good, but high in calories. How do Hogwarts students stay in shape with meals like this? Quidditch, maybe. Adam had never taken a flying class and had no idea how much energy riding a broomstick took. They had their first Transmigration class in the afternoon. As soon as they entered, Adam pulled Eugene to the front row. Cologne and the others decided to sit behind them in the second row. They wanted to sit with their roommate, but they lacked the courage, so the second row would be safe. Adam sat down, his eyes sparkling as he looked at Professor McGonagall in her tabby cat form on the podium. He was ready to go. McGonagall was scanning the students while pretending to play with cats and was slightly surprised when she noticed Adam's gaze. Had she been caught? In Adam's eyes, the tabby cat on the podium, paws tucked away, stopped looking around. Her pupils widened, her ears perked up, and her tail wagged involuntarily. Whoa! Adam clutched his chest, leaning happily on the desk. What's wrong? Eugene looked concerned. Adam closed his eyes and shook his head. It's nothing. He'd contracted a disease that would kill him if he didn't pet a cat. He should have brought Xiao Ku and SPI in his pocket. He looked at McGonagall, weighing the possibility of pretending not to know her true identity to get a chance to pet her. McGonagall, realizing she'd been spotted, paused, debating whether to change back. She decided to stick to her teaching plan, using her animagus form in the first class to spark interest in Transfiguration, but now that she'd been seen, she couldn't let herself get too comfortable. She pulled her paws from her chest and sat up straight. Adam realized he'd been exposed and sighed, restraining his eager hand. When the bell rang, McGonagall glanced at the students and saw that everyone was there. She jumped off the podium, causing a chorus of exclamations. McGonagall glanced at Adam. He didn't look surprised but seemed regretful. She decided not to dwell on that thought and just start the class. Adam was interested in Transfiguration, especially now that he was skilled in Gump's Law. Using the Transfiguration spell to shape objects and Gump's Law to transform desserts, he could almost recreate any dessert from his memory. Unfortunately, Gump's Law only worked on desserts for now. Adam would have to wait until he had more magical experience before trying to transform other foods. Chapter 19 Version Answer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Professor McGonagall's first class was an introduction to the Transfiguration spell, and their assignment was to turn a match into a needle. The task involved transforming one inanimate object into another of similar size and shape through a short-term material change and a subtle alteration of form. It was a perfect introductory lesson. Adam pointed his wand at the match, recited the spell, and almost instantly, the match became slender, sharp, metallic, and ultimately transformed into a silver sewing needle. Excellent, Professor McGonagall, who had been watching Adam closely, beamed. She approached and examined the needle. The material change was uniform, the shape was nearly flawless, and even the eye of the needle was perfectly formed. Now, see if you can change it back. Professor McGonagall placed the needle back in front of Adam. He tried, but found it more challenging this time. After a moment's thought, he grasped the key and succeeded. Brilliant! 5 points for Hufflepuff. Professor McGonagall had been prepared to offer guidance, but Adam figured it out on his own. He was a natural at Transfiguration. With proper training, he could become a master. As a Hogwarts professor, nothing was more rewarding than seeing a student excel in their field. Professor McGonagall complimented Adam, then moved on to assist others. Some students' matches remained unchanged, indicating a lack of understanding or casting errors. After Professor McGonagall left, Adam stared at the matches, pondering the second spell. He now understood that casting a spell was like navigating an endless maze with countless exits. The dead ends weren't pointless, they could create special effects. A wizard's method of casting was to rely on research to find the path from entrance to exit, then guide their magic along it. For a special effect, they'd venture into a specific dead end. Of course, spellcasting also involved various mystical elements, making it complex, but that was the basic idea. The advantage of this approach was its simplicity and clarity, requiring no incantations. External aids like wands only amplified the effect. With sufficient magic, one could even cast silently and without a wand after mastering the spell. The drawback was that the caster needed a complete understanding of the magic. It was all or nothing. Creating new magic demanded considerable time and effort in exploration and research, placing high demands on the creator. Wizards cast spells in a slightly more rudimentary way. Their ability stemmed from their bloodline, allowing them to cast without precise control over the flow of magic. They used spells and wand movements to create a framework encompassing the entrance and exit, then simply poured magic into the entrance. Although wasteful, the framework ensured the magic exited correctly, achieving the desired effect. This satisfied the wizard's ancestors. This method allowed for multiple frameworks for the same path, leading to variations of the same spell, such as higher precision to reduce magic loss or incorporating dead ends for special effects. The disadvantages were clear. If the framework was flawed, things could go wrong. The initial spell's effects were more random, and subsequent development was less controllable. Professor McGonagall's assignment was like asking him to walk this path after injecting magic, not waiting for the magic to dissipate, but to walk backward from the exit. Adam suspected this was the principle behind counterspells, noting the reversed flow of magic between Lumos and Nox. His success in reversing the needle confirmed this. Due to differing perspectives, wizards viewed counterspells differently. Their counterspells often involved distinct incantations and movements, creating a new framework. However, Adam believed this new framework simply caused the magic to travel the original spell's path in reverse. He also realized that wizards' counterspells had another weakness: they couldn't precisely control the injected magic's flow. Not all spells could be reversed simply by changing a framework. In other words, not all spells could be countered. Fortunately, wizards weren't completely helpless. They could dismantle the framework, allowing the magic to flow freely through the maze, disrupting the spell. This was a form of universal counterspell, stopping and ending all spells. This method worked on most spells, except for the 3 unforgivable curses, which had no known counterspells. Adam wondered if the unforgivable curses were truly irreversible. Using his principles, he might be able to find a way, but no one had been cursed recently, and he had no desire to volunteer. Understanding this, Adam realized that combining the 2 casting methods, leveraging wizard magic as a resource for rapid growth, might be the key to unlocking his potential. He could use his precise control of magic to quickly learn wizard spells, develop targeted counterspells, and even adapt their release methods to his own mage-style spells. While the latter seemed redundant, it would greatly benefit him in both the early and later stages. Early on, his mage-style magic would be more concise, accurate, and efficient. More importantly, his magic power grew in proportion to his knowledge, and transforming spells would significantly increase his understanding. Later, with vast magic and knowledge, he'd need a path to further advancement, making the mage's path more suitable. Unlike wizards who knew magic without understanding it, Adam wanted complete mastery. Furthermore, wizards' potential, or warlocks, depended on blood, whereas mages depended on wisdom. If his bloodline came from a god or demon, it would be different, but the bloodline of wizards in this world came from magical animals interbreeding with their ancestors. The pinnacle of magical animals was roughly like Fox, whom he touched yesterday. That ceiling was a bit too low compared to the ceiling of wizards. Chapter 20 Before the Flight Class. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After figuring out where to go next, Adam didn't dive headfirst into studying. Honestly, he wanted to learn magic to protect himself and live a good life. With the magic stone, he had plenty of time to learn at his own pace. No need to ditch all the fun now just to rush. Wednesday of the second week rolled around, and Adam was about to experience wizard chess for the first time. Checkmate! Cologne yelled, clearly stoked. On Adam's side of the chessboard, the White King eyed the approaching enemy and practically trembled on its throne. This was the 4th time today. If the rules didn't keep it stuck there, it would have booked it. Adam surveyed the board, thinking hard. I'm done for. Cologne, you're a natural at wizard chess. Ah, shucks. It's nothing. Cologne squirmed on the sofa, trying to play it cool. You're doing great, Adam. You just learned the rules, and you're already holding your own. Adam smiled, scratching Xiaoka and Sibi, who were curled up on his lap. He waved his wand to reset the wizard chess pieces. The pieces reset themselves after a game, but it took a while. Guys like them, itching for another round, had to do it themselves or grab another set. Hey, Adam, how's your potions homework coming? Finished it already. You should get moving. Ah, Eugene, what about you? Done. Okay. I'll get on it after dinner. Cologne wasn't one for copying. He just liked to check everyone's progress. If everyone else was done, it was a sign he needed to get started. Why are you guys all cooped up in here? Everyone's outside talking about tomorrow's flying lesson. Bernard and Uther strolled back into the dorm, excited to share the tall tales they'd heard in the auditorium. They're full of it. Even if you're a wizard, your parents aren't going to let you fly around on a broom before you go to school. Cologne moved his pieces without looking up. Think about it, broomsticks are basically cars in the wizarding world. What parent would let their kid drive without a license? It's dangerous. Adam's logic seemed to hit home. The knight hesitantly stepped forward to block the enemy. Yeah, makes sense. Eugene nodded. What? Uther and Bernard looked shocked. All those stories in the auditorium were just stories. Okay, Bernard gets a pass. But Uther, you're from a wizarding family. You didn't know that? Cologne looked up, puzzled. They sounded so convincing, I thought things were different in the UK. Uther sighed, plopping down on the sofa. Oh, hey, Adam, the house elf in the kitchen wanted us to give you this. Uther dug around in his pocket and handed Adam a box. What's inside? Trying out a new recipe. It's a new snack. Adam opened the box to find it filled with chestnuts his grandma had sent them, with a traceless extending charm, so the box was basically bottomless. This stash should last a while. I need some other stuff for a cake. I'm busy this afternoon. How about we make sugar-roasted chestnuts tonight? Stir-frying them would be a snap with magic, anyway. Sounds good. Roommates, whatever Adam cooks, we're in. That night, the dorm was filled with the sweet aroma of honey, syrup, and roasting chestnuts. The chestnuts, fresh out of the pot, were cracked, revealing glimpses of the yellow flesh inside. A gentle squeeze and they popped right open. Pop a peeled chestnut in your mouth. The soft, sweet chestnut meat was still warm. As you chewed, it turned into a rich, dense puree. The sweetness of the syrup and honey blended with the starchy flavor, creating a layered sweetness that was pure bliss. Ugh, I can't keep eating like this, I'm gonna get fat. I think I already have a little belly. Uther clutched his stomach and groaned on the bed. Don't be ridiculous. You're not fat. That's just a normal reaction to eating a lot. You'll be fine after you digest. Adam paused, clarifying for himself. And even if you did gain weight, the food here at Hogwarts is way fattier and sweeter than anything I cook. I'm only partially responsible at worst. I need to start dieting. Ugh. Adam took pity on him. Fine, fine. I won't invite you next time I cook. Yes. I'll eat your share. No need for me to watch my figure. Cologne chimed in, excited. He never gained weight, no matter what he ate. No. Adam, you have to invite me. Adam. Some people just didn't know their own minds. Tomorrow's the first flying lesson of my life. Fingers crossed for good weather. Bernard sighed, riding a broomstick. Even after accepting that he was a wizard, it still felt unreal. Aside from people who were scared of heights, who could resist the idea of flying? Here's hoping. Adam couldn't pinpoint exactly when he drifted off, but it was already light when he woke up. Huh. How are you guys up before me? Adam was surprised to see everyone already awake. He glanced at the alarm clock on his nightstand. His internal clock was still ticking just fine. We've got flying lessons today. Too excited to sleep. Bernard said, pulling on his socks. Bernard had been a snappy dresser when they'd first met, complete with garters and shirt clips. Adam had thought they were some kind of wizard gadget. But after hanging around with the guys, Bernard now kicked his socks on and threw on his shirt like anyone else. Uther, who used to be the second slowest to get ready, had now overtaken everyone. Awesome, barely any clouds. It's gonna be a sunny day. Cologne put his hands on his hips, surveying the sky. Isn't it gonna be too sunny? Relax. I don't think the British sun's gonna make you any darker. Uther rolled his eyes at Cologne's comment. It seemed like the entire first grade had flying lessons today. The excitement was contagious. In the common room, it was relatively contained, since the Badgers were pretty well behaved. But in the Great Hall, you couldn't move for people bragging about their experience riding broomsticks. Some kid with platinum hair was sharing his legendary tale of dodging a Muggle helicopter on his broomstick. At that distance, he would have been sucked into the propeller. Bernard looked skeptical. He didn't know about flying brooms, but he knew helicopters. These guys were really making stuff up. Haven't we figured that out already? Adam clapped Bernard on the shoulder. Come on, our flying class is first thing this morning.